Hello all! Today I'll be working on a hypoallergenic scarf made from donated yarn from a follower. A simple and sweet video while I get back on my feet for Hawksong Weaving after the CPTSD-induced health flare that August turned into, but also with some updates and projects that I'm planning for the fall. I hope you enjoy. My name is Took. I'm a disabled genderqueer weaver who's had life take odd turns, but who knows that even tattered and worn yarn still has value, and that tired joints and health flares don't have to stop the journey. I weave exclusively with secondhand fibers, aided with adaptive warping, HR and OSHA cats, and a wonderful found family. Welcome to Hawksong Weaving, where all our paths are a little bit warped. First, a bit of an explanation on why I've developed this adaptive warping method. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which has cascaded into postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So for time's sake, know that I have joints that don't work, and if I shift positions too quickly, I get pre-syncope or pre-fainting symptoms. All of this comes with chronic pain, so for a lot of reasons, a traditional warping board doesn't work for me, along with the other reasons of being really expensive and taking up a lot of space in my small studio. So I use an accordion coat rack as my warping board. It's nice and neat, it contracts into a nice smaller space, and I can adjust it as I need to. And I don't need to be up and down and all around and having tachycardia, a racing heart, that stresses out my medical alert cat Penelope Calico. No, she is not actually trained for this. She is just a calico with a lot of fortitude and a lot of opinions about my heart rate that she is more than happy to scream at me and tattle on me to my partners about. Nothing like being assigned dumb sheep status by your herding dog of a calico. I love her so much. I'm never getting another calico ever again. Bonus is she seems to have started doing this for my partners as well, so at least I'm not the only one getting yelled at. With the warp threads sorted, I'm lifting up the loom to release the warping board from the loom, gathering the warp threads into one large bundle, and using the back of my neck to drape them over and keep them tidy and out of the way while I collapse the warping board. This loom is a 15-inch wide shucked cricket loom. It's a rigid heddle loom, and I love it so much. It's birch, it's very sturdy, it can take a beating, but it's light enough that I can lift it even when I'm having a pain or fatigue day. It's also one of the cheapest looms on the market, averaging around $250 around the time of filming. I use terry cloth towels instead of cardstock to cushion the warp threads. This helps prevent the finished weaving from being tighter at the ends and looser in the middle, creating a sort of sausage profile in the weaving. The way I warp has me cutting the warp loops at the end of winding the warp. This is what's easiest on my body. It won't work for everyone, but that's okay. This isn't the best angle, but I'm being careful to pay attention to how the warp threads are laying on the back bar of the loom. The right-hand thread goes through the smaller hole in the rigid heddle reed. It's not critical, and some minor mistakes aren't the end of the world, but it does make it easier to keep the tension of the warp threads even across the entire weaving. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my work, some free ways to do that are to like, subscribe, or follow, and share. This applies to other small artists as well. It's a great way to let the social media algorithms know that this is content worth watching. If you'd like to support me financially, there's a Buy Me a Coffee linked below, which acts as sort of a tip jar. Also, now that there are so many of you absolutely fantastic and wonderful subscribers, I've been able to link the online Hawksong Weaving shop, so feel free to check out the unique handwoven products. This next bit is absolutely a joke, but just in case, in this economy I won't say no. For $1,000 a month, you can tell me that I'm not actually disabled, I'm just lazy, and to try whatever yoga, juice cleanse, snake oil nonsense fixed your cousin. Feel free to message me and I'll get you my payment deets. I take Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal and check for this nonsense. Feel free to mail the check, or more likely, donations of yarn, buttons, etc. to the P.O Box listed down below. Attaching the warp to the bottom apron bar is pretty easy. I finger comb it, get it separated into bits about 4 to 5 warp threads wide, separate these bits into 2, and then do a half hitch tie to the apron bar. If your fingers are hypermobile, please be careful when doing this, as the pressure can bend them backwards, and that is hashtag not comfortable and will lead to arthritis. And arthritis is just as uncomfortable, if not more so, than the hypermobility that causes it. Then tightening things up, getting the bottom terry cloth towel on, and soon for the actually fun part for most people, although I will say that warping can be fun, especially with this adaptive method, the weaving! Yay! I prefer to weave at a fairly high tension, so I'm cinching things again and being careful not to bend my thumb tips backwards because, again, that is deeply uncomfortable. While I'm weaving, some time for the updates and general projects and all that joy. As a lot of my regulars know, I got whammied by some pretty big CPTSD triggers earlier in the month, and it really affected my video production flow. I did get a lot of weaving and filming done, but editing is a whole other drawer of spoons. But there were some really big wins from the last month. I managed the CPTSD trauma responses like a freaking champ. I ate regularly, I didn't deep clean the apartment in a panic, I managed my chronic health needs and schedules and stuff, and I only needed to close the curtains a few nights from hypervigilant twitchiness. Per the new TikTok sound going around, no, I'm not doing well, but I'm wearing pants and I didn't join a cult today, so that's a win. I also got a lot of upgrades on my various splints and braces because this has been the most lucrative summer market season so far with Hawksong Weaving. I'm about 3 years into this, and I literally could not do this without y'all. I got a new chair for vending that won't cause so much knee and hip pain, and I'm getting a chair for my studio that has wheels so that I'm not turning my back so much. A lot of this is due to the uptick of yarn donations. Having the yarn come to me helps so much. I'm not spending money on thrift store yarn that's getting more and more expensive. I'm not burning energy that I can't spare on driving to and walking around thrift stores. It's been really incredible. I can't thank you enough. Having the yarn donations and the general support from all of you wonderful yarn brats makes such a huge difference. This summer is the first taste of hope that should the absolute worst happen, that I'd be able to support myself on my own. And that is such a huge weight off my shoulders that cascades into so many areas of my life. I also wanted to share some upcoming projects that I'm working on. I've connected with a local publisher. Check out Fortuna Publishing, I'll link down below, who has expressed interest in getting some of my books off the ground. I'm currently working on a rough draft of I'm not really sure what to call it. The working title is Weaving a Disabled Life for Yourself, an Adaptive Weaving Guide and Words from a Retired Mutual Aid Martyr. The name absolutely needs work, but it covers things pretty well. A combination personal philosophy about wanting to help and being prevented from doing so, learning to set boundaries and adapting frameworks to work for myself, and how it all relates to adaptive weaving. Another few things I have in the works are some shawls and blankets that I'm hoping to partner with a local photographer for to tell the stories from my community. There's the Flying Free shawl that I've woven to mimic the landscapes of western Massachusetts from above, the patchwork of fields and forests, streams, rivers, and lakes. Either I or working with another artist will needle felt a red-tailed hawk on the shawl, and then with photographs telling my and other stories of those who have followed the red-tailed hawk migration routes to safety here in western Mass. There's the cracks in the pink shawl that I wove before my top surgery. I want to get photos and stories from other later in life genderqueers who were born to sign female at birth. Then there's the pink and purple woven blanket that I've woven off and on over the summer. I want to get stories and photos from the LGBTQIA plus community organizers in this area, telling the stories of how they started doing what they're doing and what drives them. And currently I'm working on a Breaking the Egg blanket made of heavy smothering acrylic yarn in greens and blues with a central sparkling embroidered rainbow cracking through the center. As a trans mask, I've gotten glimpses of how hard it is to fight toxic masculine indoctrination. I want to honor and promote the stories of not only the trans femmes who broke through it to realize who they are, but also the trans masks and cis men who are continually fighting to not go down those pipelines. Because those pipelines come for us all, and they suck. The goal for all of these is to get photo prints for everyone featured, create individual books on what each of the works with the photographs and the stories and all that, and get the photo prints and the woven pieces into local art galleries. All of these are longer term projects that I'm deliberately pacing myself with. Marathon, not a sprint energy, you know? More over the winter while I physically recover from the holiday shopping rush of November and December. I am so incredibly fortunate and privileged to be in the position where I am. And while, yes, I've worked incredibly hard to get here, I don't ever want to lose sight of the fact that I'm able to make, if not a living, a significant contribution to my household via my work in the arts. And that is something that I don't ever take for granted because it is so precarious. And I'm so glad that I'm able to, and that I'm here, and that I'm able to be here. And a lot of that is down to y'all, the yarn brats, and just thank you. Thank you so freaking much. This This country is on fire, this world is on fire, and I try to offer at least a little bit of the joy back that I am able to wring from my life, because I know how rare it is right now. Thank you, and I'm so glad that you're here and that we're able to do this. And now I'll shush and let you just enjoy some pretty weaving with some pretty music. Getting towards finished, but here is a lovely moment from Mr. Hades Himbo. Hades, darling, I stood up for 5 seconds. Baby boy. Yeah, over here. Over here. Yeah. Oh, honey. Oh, my sweet baby boy. Yeah. Yeah. That's my seat. My seat. I would like to sit there, please. Pretty please? I ended up sitting in the chair next to it that was left here by my friend. Because what am I gonna do? Disturb him? He is so cute. I cannot do it. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Dodo Brain. I love you so much, my sweet dumb boy. Hi, baby. Is it playing dumb if he really is that dumb? But, yeah. Tying off the scarf fringes, I prefer to do a 2x2 warp tied into a fringe of 4, but I'll do a double sliding knot of 3 if I don't have a wide enough warp. And this scarf is so soft and so delightful and so yummy, and I'm so incredibly glad, and I love how this turned out. Unraveling now and watching it all spool out, and then here we go for tying off the rest of the fringes. I just, it's so soft. I'm so sad that y'all aren't able to feel this. This is one of the softest acrylic scarves I've ever made, and it's so utterly delightful. I love it so much. Now I'm eyeballing the length of the fringe that I want and using the don't ask me how much I spent on these good shears and trimming it. The final step is between 15 minutes to half an hour of tying the fringe knots. It's not strictly necessary for acrylics like this that are so tightly spun, but it does add a more finished, polished look to the end product. Thank you for coming along as I wove a scarf from different thrift store yarns. I'm so glad for the odd turn that your path took that brought you here. Thank you for spending time with me at Hawksong Weaving, where we're all a bit warped, and I hope that you have a truly excellent week.